The surrogate was expecting a normal pregnancy. Her doctor told her something she never expected. Time came to be a surrogate. At a young age, Shanice Sturdy had made up her mind to be a surrogate. Being a young 21-year-old, this was something new for her, and she had little idea of what would follow. While she had no idea what was coming, what still happened was something she could have never imagined. She took a glance at the monitor and then to her expanding belly. Plus, knowing that she is in her second trimester, she speculated that something was going wrong. She was always going hungry, was having difficulty in catching a break, and her back seemed to be ever aching. She wasn't feeling well at all. Time to get checked out. As the nurse applied the chilled jelly onto her abdomen and ran the ultrasound scanner over it, Shanice lay down on the table tensely. The nurse assured her that these symptoms were usual for a first-time pregnancy. Shanice still wasn't convinced as she observed the screen display a blurred mix of gray and black. And while retaining her breath in impatience and anxiety, she asked if everything was okay. The nurse then asked for the doctor instead of replying to her, where it all began. She used to dream since her childhood about becoming a mother and having a family when she was of an appropriate age. Her parents were just 6 years old when they met and fell in love with each other. She also had a sister who married her childhood sweetheart at the age of 16, and she was surprised by the amount of pain in the first few years of marriage. Time to say goodbye. Shanice and her sister Linda were very friendly, but also used to have quarrels with each other. When Linda finally moved out at the age of 14 with her new partner, Shanice imagined that her life would now become more peaceful as she had more space and there would be no more quarrels, living alone. When Linda left, Shanice appreciated some time in harmony, but soon realized that she missed her sister, and they were drifting apart from each other. So, Shanice purchased a bus ticket to her sister's, and what she witnessed there wasn't at all what she had assumed. Revisiting Linda. She got out of the bus and started walking towards Linda's residence until she saw her brother-in-law driving towards her. But he drove by without seeing her, and when she stared hard at his face, he seemed very serious. Unperceived. Shanice started walking towards her sister's house, questioning why her brother-in-law didn't see her. Ultimately, when she arrived at Linda's place, she was astonished to see how her sister looked. A surprising announcement. Shanice realized that her sister had been crying, and her face had been all washed with makeup. She inquired if the brother-in-law hurt her sister, to which Linda said that she asked him to go out. Was she so young she couldn't marry? Shanice believed that Linda was lying, but she carefully glanced at her face and realized that she wasn't. She asked Linda why she asked him to leave, and Linda's answer was the last thing she could have envisioned. An astonishing revelation. Linda revealed with tears filling her eyes that they have been trying to have a baby for a year. Her husband can't take any more loans for IVF, and they couldn't afford the first treatment. After a quick stop, she said that they couldn't keep doing it, giving her sister a helping hand. Heartbroken, Shanice listened to her sister's talk and realized how unhappy she would be when her childhood wish of becoming a mother would not be fulfilled. She decided to stay at her sister's over the weekend and comforted her, made them tea, and decided to convince her to try again. But what she couldn't have predicted is how much of an impact a weekend could make. Struggles with fertility. Linda agreed to get pregnant again, but she only did so after 2 years. She resolved to keep it a secret until her second trimester, but she didn't reach it due to a miscarriage and was devastated. She now decided not to get pregnant again. It was a heartbreak. Linda got depressed, and despite her sister trying to help her, she did not get out of the home for an entire month. There wasn't any way to get her out of the depression until Josh had an idea which could give Linda a chance to have a child finally. The idea. His plan was undoubtedly an unorthodox one, which is why he did not suggest it before, but it might be the last chance for Linda to have a child. And when he told the plan, she started to feel some hope. The ultimate present. Linda agreed to the plan, but they had to take consent from Josh's sister, and they were afraid that his sister would not agree to get on board. Anyway, Josh contacted his sister and asked her to meet with him and Linda so that they could talk about the procedure, the question. Finally, they sat down with their sister and they talked, but both Josh and Linda were extremely anxious about what his sister's decision would be. A final chance. Linda and Josh knew that they were about to ask a huge favor from his sister. They were nervously waiting for a decision, and when the decision came out, they were astonished. The answer? Josh's sister said that she would do it. Both Linda and Josh felt a tremendous amount of relief, and they could now finally realize their dream of having a child. Time of the surrogacy. Since Linda is not able to carry her baby for the full term, Josh's sister would carry the child in her womb, and everyone was astonished, including Shanice. Seeing Josh's sister agree to such a request was a huge accomplishment. Hard resolution. It was a hard decision for Josh's sister to agree to this because carrying someone's child for 9 months is a tiresome task. It's a huge sacrifice, and this move also inspired Shanice. Linda hesitates. Linda hesitated as she went through a previous miscarriage, and she didn't want to experience that again. But this time they had a different technique and a different plan that they hoped would work. Options. Of course, this wasn't their only last chance. There were other ways, such as fostering a baby and then adopting it. Shanice always wanted success for her sister, so she spent every night praying that this pregnancy would be a success. The birth. It was a success. Josh's sister was able to carry the baby to its full term. And finally, it was the new day when the baby was born. When Shanice heard the news, she couldn't stop crying, and that day she too made a promise to herself about something she had to do. Shanice's promise. She made a promise that day that if she had to surrogate for someone else, she would do it too without hesitation to make someone else's dreams come true. But what she couldn't have anticipated was how different her surrogacy journey would be. Joanna and Steve. When Shanice turned 21, she found a couple that was trying to conceive a baby but couldn't. She decided to surrogate for the couple, and everyone in the family was proud of her. She flew to Los Angeles to get the procedure done, but after she flew back home, things didn't go as planned. Something's wrong. Shanice was very young when she agreed to surrogate for Joanna and Steve. She did get pregnant, but when her first trimester ended, she knew something was wrong. Waiting. Shanice had only met one other surrogate. She watched her go through all the struggles of pregnancy, from nausea to sickness to exhaustion. But her pregnancy was going well and she couldn't feel anything wrong. But she still couldn't help but worry that something was not right. Growth continues. Her pregnancy was going well. She did not feel anything terrible like nausea or exhaustion, but her belly was growing too much. The increase was abnormal and she needed to find out what was wrong and gave a doctor a call. Going to the doctor. She consulted the doctor at the end of the first trimester. She had concerns when she laid on the table. She was nervous about what the doctor would say. Finally, when the doctor returned with the paperwork, he was silent. The unexpected news. The doctor's silence worried her that something had gone wrong. Steve and Joanna had tried so hard and had put all of their hope in her. Finally, when the doctor looked up at his notes and spoke up, she could not believe the 3 words that the doctor said. The news. Dr. Ryan's face broke into a huge grin and said she was having triplets. She was stunned. She was worried about if Steve and Joanna decided they didn't want all 3 babies. The triplet. Joanna and Steve were thrilled with the news and they were overjoyed. Shanice's body continued to grow and become huge. Her body always ached at the back, but inside she knew that it was all worth it and she was helping someone else realize their dreams. The birth. 9 months have gone by and finally it was time for the babies to be born. She gave birth to 3 perfectly healthy children named Willow, Daisy, and Harrison. She was thrilled that she had been able to provide the couple with their children. She commented that despite her being only 21 years old, it was the best experience of her life. An easy pregnancy. Her pregnancy had gone relatively easy, considering that she was carrying triplets. When asked about it, she said that she experienced no morning sickness or cravings. The pregnancy flew by with the help of Joanna and Steve, and would recommend it to everyone. Now, just because the babies were born doesn't mean that she would no longer get to see them. An ongoing relationship. Willow, Daisy, and Harrison were born and kept in an intensive care unit for 2 weeks. Joanna and Steve wanted to keep Shanice a part of their babies' lives, and hence she goes to visit them every year on their birthday. Some people may find this odd, but she has an explanation as to why she likes to keep in touch with them. What is surrogacy? There are a plethora of misconceptions about surrogacy and how it works. Many people have misconceptions about who the biological parents are. Shanice had to fight those misconceptions. She stated that a lot of people presume that you have to use your eggs to become a surrogate, but that's not the case at all. The embryo was taken from Joanna and Steve, and Shanice was just a host body. The effects of pregnancy. Just because Shanice's pregnancy was physically easy doesn't mean she didn't feel any effects from it. It isn't very easy for anyone, and being a surrogate can impact their psychological and mental health. Carrying a triplet can have many adverse effects on the body. Unfortunately for Shanice, she too started experiencing unwanted effects, discovering damage. Shanice is worried that carrying the triplets may have impacted her ability to get pregnant. In a later interview, she explained that she was in a relationship and would like to have more children. She previously had a miscarriage and wondered if carrying triplets had any effects on her body. Shanice's advice. She encourages everyone thinking about a surrogate to consider their options and research the methodology and to make sure that they have support around them. But that's not the only thing people should consider. They should keep in mind that there is one more thing which may break their heart and affect a person's decision to be a surrogate. No return. Surrogates do not get paid to do the job. It's free labor to give someone a child. You may get expenses for your travels and so on, but you cannot make money by this. Surrogacy could be costly for the surrogate herself, not just the parents, because she might have to take bed rest, which would lead to fewer working hours and hence loss of income. Changing the law. She doesn't regret her decision to be a surrogate. She is now advocating for surrogacy. She worked on getting some of the laws regarding surrogacy changed in Great Britain. Because of her experience, she now believes that the biological parent should have more control and power over what the law currently dictates. Endless inquiries. Throughout the pregnancy, she had all sorts of questions directed towards her, like birth plans, vaccinations, etc., which should have been asked to the birth parents. When she got any questions of that sort, she would turn to Steve and Joanna and ask them what they want to do. Bringing a change. She said that even though it was her body, the babies weren't hers. She wants the law to change so that parents could have a say in it, which would make things easier on both parts. She is not alone in this, and many other surrogate mothers feel about this the same way. Biological parents should be consulted more as they are the children's parents and the surrogate is just a carrier for their baby. Subscribe for more.